Do you want to learn more about the real Belize and listen to locals and expat stories that are actually living here in Belize? Well, you're in the right place right now. You're listening to Belize Talk Radio, and I'm your host, Macarena Rose. Welcome back, everybody, to Belize Talk Radio. And before the commercial break, we moved over here so you could actually see more of these pictures as he's going to describe them. Now, we're going to do our best to describe them to you with lots of oomph, so that way you can understand what we're looking at, or you can obviously log into macarenarose.com and you can see them too, see the video, and see these pictures up front, because you're going to want to see the works of this artist, Pedro Cruz, because it's not often that you have something like the mural that is here that actually depicts the history of Belize. So start with us at the beginning.
Well, we have the first area by the bridge over there. I have a mass that is featured in an archaeological site known as Mahogany. I used that surface to work because the wall is a bit rough, and it just did a bit of justice to blend the technique I would use to show the mass in a three-dimensional style. The mass is presumed to be one of the largest found carved by the side of a temple. They presume it has features of Olmec, but it's at the site of Mahogany, so I thought that was just fitting for that area. As we continue from there, coming up this way, one of the main archaeological sites that could be found within the perimeters of San Ignacio town would be very interesting, the site of Kahopech. Again, that area being a bit rough surface just added the texture. It's like the canvas I used to bring out the detail of the archaeological site Kahopech. I thought it's very interesting. It's one of the only municipalities you can actually walk to an archaeological site within the town itself. So that was one of the interesting features there. After that, we moved toward an area which was rather interesting, because many years ago I painted a scene where the river you can see, and there will be people on the riverside. There'll be the boats, what we call the kayo landing days, when they used to transport everything by boat because there was no major highway to come from Belize to San Ignacio. So that is what we call the river boat days, where they use tunnel boats. You had boats like Tenifly, you had boats like El Coloso, boats like Minerva that were very important that time, that took produce back and forth from Belize to San Ignacio. From there we head on to where I combine features of our national symbols. For example, you'll see our national bird, the toucan. Belize has a total of three types of toucans. We have two smaller ones that are the colored aracari and the emerald toucanet, but the keelbill is the largest and the most beautiful of them all. That is the national bird of Belize. A bit below the national bird, you will see where we feature the tapir. Tapir is one of the last prehistoric animals of this part of the world. It was slaughtered and brutally assaulted many years ago, but we converted it and named it to a national animal. Thus today it's protected by law. So the tapir is our national animal. Very important name, we call him locally mountain cow. People have presumed to have a horrid story about this animal, but it's a very docile and beautiful creature. Okay? From there we have a mahogany tree that is featured there, which would be our national tree. Many years ago, mahogany was exported from here from the early 17th to late 19th century. If you go to the Royal Courts of England, the palaces in Buckingham, most of the furniture today are still made out of British and US mahogany. Very interesting. A touch. Ask the question again.
Okay, so when you were talking about the part about the Mahogany, you went into the next section. What was that section
That
about?
was Kahopech.
Oh, yeah, Kahopech. Okay,
Kahopech.
right. And then you went into the animals that you talked
No,
about.
into the riverboat days.
Ah.
Then we feature the animals.
And so I know he had heard the part about the riverboat days.
Yes.
And then we went into the tapir.
The tapir.
And I think that's where the truck was making some noise. So we want to make sure we share that.
Mahogany. Sí. 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 Ella me preguntó de... Oh, it's interesting yo de Inglaterra hecho de caoba.
Okay. So ¿de allí quieres? ¿Lo quieres? Y yo pregunto a él. del mahogany, ¿verdad?
¿Quieres que continúe con ese mismo tema ahí también?
Creo que continuando, digamos, para que vamos a hacer edición ahí para que no se vea mucho. Continúa eso y termina con eso, sigue con
Del mahogany ahí. Ok.
Okay, so tú empiezas, okay. You want me to ask him? ¿Quiere yo para preguntar a él o yo preguntar? Él sigue, okay.
Yeah, the next feature you saw there would be the mahogany tree. I painted that because it's also the national tree of Belize. Many years ago, from the early 17th century to late 19th century, that was extracted out of British Honduras and Belize. If you visit today the royal courts of England, the palaces in England, all the furnitures are made out of British Honduras mahogany.
So the actual wood that came from Belize is in England now.
Most of it is in England,
Wow.
in furniture form, in all the courts all around. You see them today, still hundreds of years, maybe 200-300 years old.
It's such a beautiful wood.
It is, and that's our national tree today. And because of that form, we also protect it as well, and we do not export much as we did in the raw form.
Nice.
Today, Belize exports mahogany, but in finished products.
Good.
Yeah.
We want to keep growing our mahogany here. So go ahead. What about?
From there, we have just below the mahogany tree, there's a tree featured black orchids. That is a combination of what we call our national flower. The black orchid is not really black; it is a deep purple color. Well, a unique and beautiful orchid, one of its kind. So that is featured as our national flower today.
And it's beautiful.
It's
and
a very
protected.
beautiful. It is protected
Yeah?
as well. Yeah.
We protect our good things, don't we?
Yeah, definitely we do. Then just a bit below that, you will see a very beautiful dominant iguana. There's a large iguana there. I remember when I was painting the iguana, just stabbing and throwing paint on the wall, everybody would have been asking, what are you painting there? After about half an hour of a continued brush strokes and stabbing of work, an iguana pops up. Everybody says it looks so real, like it's coming off the wall. That iguana is one of a special iguana we have in this country and this town though. That iguana is a dominant one that they have, one of the oldest grandfathers at the area of San Ignacio Hotel, where they have the Green Iguana project.
Yes.
That iguana's famous name is Mr. Gomez. So
Mr.
Mr. Gomez had to be featured on the wall. He represents San Ignacio Hotel and Belize as a whole. So Mr. Gomez is there, a dominant feature in that part of the artwork.
And we love them. They do a great project there. Good tribute.
We have on the top, we have a color like of a sunset, a beautiful sunset. I depicted that because to me, the west is where the sun will set every time. So the sun rises in the east, the west is the most largest district. It is the area where the sun sets. So a beautiful sunset. We never seem to be amazed by the sunset we have in this area every evening. Okay, so I decided to put that feature in that specific area.
And I love how you put it over the welcome.
That's it, yeah. Because
It's
welcomes you to the west, welcomes you to the sunset, welcomes you to the beautiful town of San Ignacio.
and again, you know, listeners, he did this without like a drawing or draft or everything. This all came up from inside of you.
Yes, it just came flowing because as I worked, the more I painted, the more feeling I got, the more emotion. And I said, if I never do it again, I'm going to do my best nevertheless.
He commissions work and they're beautiful at that because you just do. You paint from heart,
Definitely, that's
Yeah.
I love, yeah.
spirit.
From there we move on till we see that area where we have the sun for the commencing of San Ignacio. I painted the beautiful blue skies and featuring the hills we call the Chiquibo Forest. Belize is one of the best kept rainforests in the Chiquibo area, one of the largest, and unfortunately today it's being destroyed a bit by poaching and illegal incursion in the area. But our international agencies and our governmental groups are trying their best to protect this piece of Belizean patrimony. The Chiquibo area, very interestingly, has one of the largest cave formations in the Americas and this part of the world. Also, the Chiquibo has the best wildlife in that area. That is where also located is our beautiful site of Caracol, the largest in the area
it's
as well.
beautiful, isn't it?
So Chiquibo is one of our most interesting features when it comes to jungle and rainforest. And to enhance the Chiquibo feeling, we have below, I was painting and I painted, interestingly the frogs look pretty big in the mural, but they're the red-eye frog. Very small frogs. You would never find them very low in the jungle. They're in the highest perch, in the highest parts of the canopy. They would be in the bromeliads and the epiphytes in the high part of the canopy of the trees. But I put them there, and I use the holes that are within the wall as features for their eyes. And people said, there's a hole there. I said, that hole won't be there anymore. It will be the eye of a red-eye frog. I asked, why 2 frogs? I said, 1 frog is for San Ignacio, 1 is for Santa Elena.
Intentional.
Yeah, intentional. That's as the art works along.
Because we are the sister towns.
Yeah. Then you see there, one of the dominant figures we have looking at both frogs, like to say, what should I do with you guys? Remember, the frogs have poison in them. It is believed the Maya would have used the poison of the frog to use as their darts when they would hit the enemy. So when you thought a person was killed by the stroke of an arrow or the stroke of a spear or something, it was not the actual inflicting of the wound, it was the chemical that was inserted in the tissue that would let you perish. The poison from the red-eye tree frog. We see then a jaguar looking at them closely, but the jaguar would never attempt to bite the frog because they're pals. They survive and work together in the jungle. Now the jaguar is placed there because he is one of the dominant features in the Chicable rainforest. The jaguar, one of the largest praying cat in the Americas, also because Belize is the only country in the world to have a reserve for this large praying cat. The cat has been extinct in North America, South America, and we still have a healthy population. So I believe he's one of the very protected animals in our country also, the jaguar. Although we have 5 cats in the world, in Belize, I only featured 2 on the wall. The largest and the smallest.
Intentional.
Okay? Yeah. We continue, we see a bit of a jungle vegetation, a bit of stubbing. That's the greenery that we have here. The green would represent the environment. The mixture of yellow and green is so vibrant. It's the district itself. We are the largest district. We have the most rainforest in this area. Now we see the blue morpho.
Oh,
very beautiful butterfly. I had to include him because the blue morpho will be a dominant butterfly in the area. When you're walking through the jungle, you'll just see them pop up in front of you and you wonder where they came from. Some people might know it as the Caribbean blue. The true name is blue morpho. They're really large. And we have a lot in Belize as well. We continue and we can see what we have would be a beautiful cat with popping eyes. That's the smallest praying cat in Belize, the margay. Look at the eyes, big, brown and beautiful, popping. They're equipped for night vision. The margay is a nocturnal cat.
Oh.
You will see him in the trees. You will see him in the trees at night. He'll only be wandering at night because in the daytime he'll be limbering in the trees, lying down. But the margay is no larger than a domestic cat.
Well, when we come back from break, I want to know the next part, but I love the picture of this margay. It's beautiful. You're listening to Belize Talk Radio on the Overseas Radio Network.
Dala tu cuerpo alegría Macarena, que tu cuerpo es para dar la alegría y cosa buena. Dala tu cuerpo alegría Macarena, Macarena. Dala tu cuerpo alegría Macarena, que tu cuerpo es para dar la alegría y cosa buena. Dala tu cuerpo alegría Macarena.